Dr. Asher, don't touch the water. Not even a drop. Don't drink it. Don't wash your hands. Don't put a glass under the tap and pour it out. Tell me you understand me before I say anything else. That was the sentence my plumber said to me at 1:15 on a Wednesday afternoon, kneeling on the tile floor of my downstairs bathroom with a flashlight in his hand, looking up at me with a face that was completely white. He had been at my house for 40 minutes. He was supposed to be replacing a leaking valve under the sink. He had pulled a small device out of his work bag 10 minutes earlier and had begun running a strip of paper under the cold water tap. The paper had turned 3 different colors in 8 seconds. He had run a second strip. The second one had done the same thing. He had taken a small bottle out of his bag. He had filled it from the tap. He had screwed the lid on. He had put the bottle in the inner pocket of his coveralls. He had then sat back on his heels and said the sentence I just told you. Hit subscribe. Drop your city in the comments. Stay until the end. There is a thing I learned about a kind of person we walk past every day, on every street in this country, and I want you to hear it before I am done. I knelt down on the tile across from him. I said, "Curtis, what are you talking about?" His name was Curtis Mainwaring. He was 48. He had been my plumber for 2 years. He had replaced the hot water heater after the storm in March. He had unclogged the kitchen drain after the dishwasher backed up in May. He was a quiet man with a thin gray ponytail and a pair of reading glasses he wore on a cord around his neck. He drove a van that said, "Mainwaring Plumbing and Drain" on the side. He was the kind of person nobody noticed in any room he walked into. He looked at me. He said, "Dr. Asher, the strip I just ran is a chemical test strip. I do not normally carry them. I carry them on jobs in older neighborhoods because of the pipe situation. The strip turns colors based on what is in the water. The colors I just got mean 3 things at once. They mean there is a heavy metal contamination in your tap. They mean there is a solvent contamination. And they mean there is a third compound I do not have a strip for, but the way it is bonding to the other 2 means I think I know what it is. Do you have any reason in your professional life to think that somebody might want you not to be able to think clearly for the next 6 months?" My ears started ringing. The bathroom light got too bright. I sat down on the closed lid of the toilet because my legs would not hold me. My name is Asher Vinya. I am 39 years old. I have a doctorate in hydrology, and I work as a senior research scientist at the public water utility in the largest metropolitan area in Minnesota. I had been, for the previous 14 months, the lead investigator on a federal water quality complaint against a manufacturing company that operated a chemical processing plant on the upper Mississippi watershed. The company had been releasing untreated wastewater into a tributary of the Mississippi for, by my calculations, somewhere between 8 and 12 years. The contamination had reached 3 drinking water intakes downstream. The amount of money the company stood to lose, in fines and remediation and class action liability, was estimated at $410 million. I was scheduled to give sworn testimony before a federal hearing on the case in 17 days. Curtis was watching my face. He said, "Yes, okay, so, Dr. Asher, whoever wants you not to think clearly has been very specific about how they are doing it. The metal in your water is lead, but at a level that is high enough to cause symptoms and low enough that a routine test would just call it old pipes. The solvent is a chlorinated organic compound that I would tell you the name of if I thought it would help. The third thing, the one I do not have a strip for, is what I am almost certain is a slow-acting heavy metal compound that targets the central nervous system. 3 to 6 weeks of exposure causes symptoms that look exactly like early-onset cognitive decline, word-finding problems, memory lapses, trouble with complex reasoning, the kind of symptoms that, if you were giving testimony in a hearing in a few weeks, would make a defense lawyer's job a lot easier. Dr. Asher, have you been having any of those symptoms?" I had. I had been forgetting words. I had walked into my own kitchen the previous Saturday and stared at the coffee maker for almost a minute trying to remember what the word coffee was. I had told my husband Brent it was overwork. I had told myself it was overwork. I had a deposition scheduled for the following Monday. I had been planning to ask my doctor for a referral to a neurologist after the hearing. I had thought, very privately, that it might be early onset something. My grandmother had died of Alzheimer's at 63. I had been carrying that fear for a year. I had been carrying it harder for the last 6 weeks. Curtis was still watching me. He said, "I am going to ask you a question, and the question is going to sound strange, and I need you to answer it honestly. Has anyone been in this house, alone, in the last 8 weeks, who is not you and not your husband? Anyone with access to your basement utility room? Anyone at all?" I thought about it. I thought hard. I said, "We had a water heater inspection in February. Someone from the city came out for a routine check. He had a clipboard. He showed me an ID. He went into the basement. He was down there for about 20 minutes. He came back up. He told me everything was fine. He left." Curtis closed his eyes. He said, "Did you call the city before he came to schedule it?" "No, they had sent a notice. The notice said they would be coming on a Tuesday between 9 and noon. I was working from home that day." "Dr. Asher, the city does not do unscheduled water heater inspections. The city does not send those notices. Whoever was in your basement in February was not from the city. He installed something on the cold water line that runs to your kitchen and your downstairs bathroom. I can see it from here. There is a small inline housing on the supply line under your sink. It does not match anything in your plumbing. It is the size of a deck of cards. It has been releasing a measured dose of contaminant into your cold water for 8 weeks. Dr. Asher, I am not going to touch it. I am going to call somebody who knows how to remove it without disturbing it. I have a person. He is going to be here in 40 minutes. In the meantime, you and I are going to walk out of this bathroom. We are going to leave the water off at the main. We are going to sit in your kitchen. You are going to call your husband. You are going to call your supervisor at work. And I am going to call the federal agent whose card you are going to give me from your office. Because I am willing to bet you have one. Do you have one?" I had 3. I had 3 federal agents' cards in a file folder in my home office. I had been working with 2 of them on the case. The third one was the agent who had told me 6 months earlier, when I had first started getting strange phone calls from blocked numbers, that if anything else strange happened to me at all, I should call her immediately. I had not called her. The phone calls had stopped. I had decided I had been imagining things. Curtis stood up. He helped me stand up. We walked out of the bathroom. He turned the water off at the main. We went into the kitchen. I sat down at the counter. He sat down across from me. He said, "Before any of those people get here, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why did you let me run the test strip? Most people would have stopped me. Most people would have said, 'What are you doing under my sink with a paper strip?'" I had not stopped him. I had stood there and watched him, and the only thing I had thought the entire time was that I was glad he was the one who was here today, instead of his apprentice. I tried to put it into words. The closest I could come was, "Curtis, I have known you for 2 years. You replaced the hot water heater. You unclogged the dishwasher. You did not say anything when I was crying in this same kitchen the day you came to fix the disposal in November, the day after my mother went into hospice. You are a person who does not do anything in this house without a reason. I trusted you. I did not need to know what the reason was." He nodded once. He did not say anything else for a minute. Then he said, "I want to tell you something I have not told most of my customers. I went into plumbing 22 years ago because I had been doing something else before that I did not want to do anymore. I worked environmental remediation, industrial cleanup. I did it for 9 years, between the ages of 17 and 26. I cleaned up after companies like the one that has been in your basement. The work was steady. The pay was decent. The problem was the work itself. We would clean up a site very thoroughly, very expensively. And 3 years later, the same kind of mess would appear at a different site 20 miles away, made by the same kind of company. We were the cleanup crew for an industry that had no incentive to stop making the mess. I quit because I was tired of being part of an economy that paid me to mop up after rich people who would never be in the room I was mopping. I went into plumbing because I wanted work that stayed done. You fix a pipe, the pipe is fixed. You replace a valve, the valve does not become unfixed in 3 years because somebody downstream decided it was cheaper to break it again. He was looking at his hands while he said it. He had old chemical burns on the backs of both of them. I had never noticed. He said, I kept the test strips because the work I left did not fully leave me. I do houses in old neighborhoods where the pipes are bad. I find lead sometimes. I find solvents sometimes. Once a year, on average, I find something that should not be in a residential supply line. I have not put the strips down. They are in the bottom of the bag. I am not somebody who is supposed to be the person who finds these things. I am a plumber. I went to a community college for 2 years, and I have been on my knees under sinks for 2 decades. The people who are supposed to find things like this are the EPA, the state environmental quality offices, the municipal water authorities, the federal agencies. They have buildings full of scientists with PhDs who study this for a living. None of those people have ever been in your downstairs bathroom on a Wednesday afternoon. I have. That is the only reason I am here. He stopped. He looked up at me. He said, I am not telling you this because I want credit. I am telling you because in about 2 hours there are going to be 3 federal agents in this kitchen, and they are going to ask me how I knew, and they are going to assume I am either a hero or a hobbyist. I am neither. I am a plumber who used to do environmental cleanup and who never managed to fully stop being a person who looks at water funny. That is the entire story. I want you to hear it before they hear it, because the story is going to sound like something else by the time it is in their report, and you should know what it actually is. The federal agent arrived 90 minutes later. Her name was Special Agent Kirsten Halvor. She was the one whose card I had been carrying for 6 months. She brought 2 technicians with her. The technicians removed the device from under my sink, very slowly, in a way Curtis watched closely, with the kind of attention you can only give to work you used to do yourself. The device was, the technicians later confirmed, custom-built. It contained a reservoir, a slow-release valve, and a small computer that controlled the dosing schedule. The dosing schedule had been set to deliver heaviest exposure during the 2 weeks leading up to my federal hearing. Whoever built it had also built it to leak its remaining contents into my pipes if it was tampered with, in a quantity high enough to require evacuation of my house and 3 of my neighbors' houses. The technicians removed it without triggering it. They had been trained for this. They had done it before. The investigation that followed produced a list of facts that, when read together, I have not fully recovered from. The list included the name of the man who had come to my house in February pretending to be from the city. He was a private contractor with a previous arrest for industrial espionage. He had been paid in cash from a shell account that traced, through 3 layers, back to the chief of operations of the manufacturing company I had been investigating. The list included surveillance data showing that my house, my office, my husband's office, and my mother's hospice facility had been under intermittent observation for 14 months. The list included a folder of internal communications from the manufacturing company that had been pulled from a server during a separate raid, in which my name appeared 87 times. In one of those communications, dated 6 weeks before Curtis had come to my house, the chief of operations had written an email to a person whose name the agent would not tell me. The email had said, Asher Vinya is the only one we have to deal with. Without her, We don't have a case to deal with. Go through her. The hearing is set. The case against the company expanded. My testimony, which I gave in October instead of August because the investigation needed time, contributed to a final settlement of $620 million. The chief of operations was arrested. He took a plea deal. He is currently serving 22 years for conspiracy to commit assault with a chemical weapon, attempted murder, environmental crimes, and obstruction. The man who came to my house pretending to be from the city was arrested on a separate set of charges and is currently serving 14 years. There were 11 other people charged in the broader scheme. All of them took deals. All of them are now in federal facilities. The day after the technicians removed the device, Curtis came back to finish the original valve replacement. He would not let me pay him for the original job or for the day before. He told me he had been the one who got something out of those 40 minutes, not me. I asked him what he meant. He said, "Dr. Asher, I have been carrying those strips in the bottom of my bag for 15 years. I have found small things in 5 houses, lead in 3, a solvent in 1, an old pesticide in 1. Each time I called somebody. Each time the homeowner got their water dealt with. Each time the story ended at the level of 1 house. I have never, before this Wednesday, walked into a job and found something that connected to a thing larger than the kitchen I was standing in. Today I did. Today the strip in my hand pointed at a $400 million federal case against a company that has been poisoning rivers for a decade. I have spent 22 years trying to do work that stays done. Today, for the first time in my career, I did work that did not just stay done in 1 house. It stayed done at the watershed level. That is the thing you gave me. I am not going to forget it. You do not owe me anything for it. I am the one who got the better end of the deal. I have thought about that conversation more than any other thing he said to me. The piece of it I keep coming back to is this. The man who saved my life and who saved a watershed of 3 million people did not save us because he was a hero. He saved us because he had spent 22 years quietly doing a kind of work that a lot of us would call lower status. And because that work had taught him, day after day, exactly enough about water to recognize what was happening in my house in 8 seconds. The country I live in does not give Curtis Mainwaring's job the kind of attention or compensation it gives to mine. The country I live in tends to treat plumbers and electricians and HVAC techs and contractors as service workers, as men in vans who show up when something is broken, as people we tip at Christmas and forget the name of by Easter. Curtis is not those things. Curtis is a man with 22 years of operational expertise in the systems that keep me alive, more practical knowledge of water chemistry than most of my colleagues, and a steadier set of judgment under pressure than I have ever seen in any conference room I have sat in. He gets paid a quarter of what I get paid. He has no PhD. He has no corner office. He has work boots and a van and a bag with test strips in the bottom of it. He is one of the smartest people I have ever met about the things that actually matter to staying alive. Most of you have someone like Curtis in your life right now. Maybe a plumber, maybe an electrician, maybe an HVAC tech, a roofer, a contractor, a car mechanic, a building super, a maintenance person at your office. Maybe somebody whose name is on a van that comes to your house twice a year. They are not background. They are not just service. They are some of the only people in your life who actually understand the systems your survival is built on. They notice things. They have been trained by years of work the rest of us have not done to see what is wrong in systems we have never had to think about. We have been trained by something else not to listen to them, to talk to them about parts and prices, to not look at their bags, to not ask them what they are looking at. The next time the person fixing something in your house pauses, looks at something twice, opens their bag and takes out a tool you have never seen, do not interrupt them. Do not rush them. Do not check your phone. Let them work. Ask them what they are looking at. Some of them will not have anything to tell you. Some of them, on a Wednesday afternoon, in your downstairs bathroom, will save your life. Curtis Mainwaring saved mine. The thing I have not figured out how to repay is not the saving. It is the 22 years of work he did before he saved me, that the rest of us never noticed, that taught him exactly the right thing for that exact Wednesday. I cannot give him those years back. I can give him something else. I can stop pretending the people who do that work are the background of my life. I can pay attention. I can ask questions. I can listen. I can tell other people about him. I can use this video to put his name and his trade on the record, in his own words, in a country that has not been listening to people in vans for a long time. Curtis is still my plumber. He has not changed his rates. He still carries the test strips in the bottom of his bag. He has trained 2 of his apprentices in how to read them. Both of them are now journeyman plumbers in their own right. Both of them carry the strips. There is a woman in St. Paul who is alive today because one of those apprentices ran a strip under her kitchen sink last summer. I do not know her name. Curtis does not know her name. The apprentice will not tell either of us. He says it is not his story to tell. He says she is a person who is alive now, and that is enough. He carries the strips. He keeps doing the work. There are men and women in vans on every street in this country, right now, who know more about your survival than you do. Find yours. Learn his name. Pay him fairly. Tip him at Christmas. Ask him what he is looking at. If he ever looks at something twice, do not rush him. He is doing the work the rest of us forgot how to do. He is one of the few people in your life who would notice if something was killing you, before you noticed it yourself. The rest of us have a lot of catching up to do.